Testing. All right. So I'm going to use this, and I'm going to ask you a favor. Tomorrow, if you see any presenter not using the audio and it works, please ask them. Actually, I have a session for accessibility, and I love these systems because they work well, and not just for people with hearing issues, although I have hearing issues, so that's why I really like them, because I can't hear. So I put that on you. Make the presenters use it. We had a presenter come into our district recently. They were leading on, I don't even know what they were leading on, but like, I had them a microphone saying, oh, I don't need this. Like, there's going to be 100 teachers in this room. You think your voice is good enough for all of them? It isn't. So hopefully, make the people use these. Anyways, my name is Patrick Donovan. I'm the Director of Technology for Ames Community School District. That's my Twitter handle up there. That's my website on there. All of the stuff I'm going to talk about today, it's on my blog. And when we're talking about spreadsheets, a lot of this is to learn these things. Things I've learned is because I Googled them, and then I've had to re-Google them. And I just had to do them over and over again. And so I have videos on my site that run through all these step by step. So if we're not going at the right pace for you today, because, well, there's a lot of you and there's only 50 minutes, we're going to know that I have videos online, so these will help you with those, so if you need more help down the road. And you know what? Email me, tweet at me, I'll help no matter what. I love spreadsheets. So that's my info there. And I'm going to be honest, I have to look at my watch. I know I feel good. Normally I'm good about turning off all my devices, but my mom's picking up my son from school for the first time, because my wife apparently had to go to a conference in Kentucky, and I'm down here, so that somebody had to pick up the kid from school. So I'm just making sure everything goes well. I'm sure it will, and, But I'm actually going to leave my watch on today. So I'll have a link for you real soon to the slides. We'll get to that. I've titled this session before, become a wizard at Google Sheets. So I always had to put this GIF in here. You're a wizard, Harry. And of course, my name is Patrick, so there has to be a Patrick in there. Anyways, so the reason why I think this is an important session, and why I know it's not always a fun session or something, ooh, spreadsheets, I love them, I actually do, is because data is important. I mean, data should be helping to make a lot of decisions when we're talking about instructional practices, building district decisions, everything we do. We should have information guiding us. It shouldn't be gut instinct. Unless your name is Leroy Jethro Gibbs, that's where you use Watch NCIS. You need data to make decisions. But oftentimes, data by itself can't help you out. You have to make data appear in a way that you can actually make sense of it. Not many people can look at a giant spreadsheet of numbers and go, ooh, I got it. I can do that, but that's no fun for other people if I just point it out. So we got to figure out, how do we play with data? How do we use data in the way we use it? And so spreadsheets are your friend. Trust me on that one. All right, if you go to this link right now, it's bit.ly sheets magic. And if you're somebody like me who has trouble enunciating, say anything with the word sheet in it a whole lot can be difficult. But that will force you to make a copy of a Google Sheet. That Google Sheet has a lot that we're going to play with that data. So you can't sit there and just hope to absorb information. You know that doesn't work. You got to play with the stuff we're going to be talking about. So I kind of designed a spreadsheet with some fake data in there. I think I left some tips along the way in there too. But that spreadsheet at least give you a good way to start. So bit.ly sheets magic, all lowercase. That means I actually have to sit. I don't normally like sitting during a session. Problem if you have the power of the squirrel. Anyway, so everybody got this link? Anybody still need it? Alrighty. So first off, I'm going to tell you, if you're using data from a Google form, that's always a tricky thing. And the reason for that is because of how a Google form works. And I'm going to start with this because a lot of the data you might be getting will probably come from a Google form if you're pulling in from multiple people. So when you pull in data from a Google form, kicks to a spreadsheet, that form actually creates a brand new row in that spreadsheet every time it dumps in data. It's not filling in the rows that are already there, it actually creates a brand new row. So if you look at your data, let's say you had 5 columns of data being come into the spreadsheet from the Google form, pretty much the only place you can work to insert anything is either if you create a new row above the data that's already in there, because it's always going to create a new row below. So like, let's say row 14 was the last row of data I had. Next time that form fills out, it creates a brand new row below row 14. So what you can do is you can actually go above your data that's in there, insert a new row. It will not overwrite that. So that's always your play area. Green good, red bad. And then it's outside the edges of your data. But here's the thing, like if you're using a form to get your data, you can't usually pre-populate equations because, remember, it's going to create a brand new row, so if I pre-populate, it's not going to be there because it didn't exist before. So if you ever play with data from a Google form and it's still receiving data, know that you can't just play wherever. You got to go outside the right edge of your data, and you can create a new row between the header and your first set of data. That'll make more sense once you start playing, but I always kind of point that out because I take in a lot of data from the forms, and I like to play with it before it's all done. All right, so all these we're going to focus with scenarios, how to use these equations. So let's say you're trying to identify high and low scores to student data. So easy thing here is conditional formatting. Conditional formatting will be kind of like you see in the background image there. It'll automatically change the color of a cell, or it can do other things based on the data in there. So it can allow you to quickly visually see, you know, like typical say green is good, red bad. So to help you identify high and low scores in that. So if we go to that sheet, and again, here's my copy of the document that hopefully you got if you went to that Sheets Magic. That's your copy, so you get to keep it. And you should have probably clicked that before. Come on. Okay, that's fun. So we're just going to do this in our second. Anyways, we have to go to my, yeah, you know, when the internet works so well, right? Tech conference schedule, hogging my bandwidth. No, all right. Let me redo that real quick. Make a copy. Make a copy of my own document, so you think it would just work. There we go. High tech. Yeah. Turn off the Wi-Fi, turn it back on, refresh. Right? Trick to fixing everything. Turn it off and on again, right? All right, so I have this data here right now. Now let's say I wanted to just kind of, what I've done here already, you can alternate colors and rows. That's just a formatting thing. That's not anything special. And if you just kind of like highlight your data, you know, if I go and pick a couple rows here, I go up to format and one option, you know, alternate colors, right? I'm actually going to turn mine off. Let's see if I can move. There we go. Just do that for now. So let's say I'm going to select my data. So I'm going to select my data here. And how many of you know that you can, there we go. So if I hold down Shift, and then go to the bottom of my data, it'll select it all. So if you need to select some data, and I don't know if many people know that, it seems like those minor things I may skip over. I can select in the upper left, I go to the lower right, hold down Shift and click, and it highlights all that data. Now I'm going to right click on that, and I get all these extra options. So down at the bottom, you say conditional formatting. We'll get data validation later. Conditional formatting. And this is where you can use a simple equation. So let's say I want to know any score that's above 80 will make green. So I can go to, you'll see the range it's applying to here. So D2 to H21. So even if I didn't select those cells, I can change that now if I want to. I can make it go all the way to row 22. And then what we do here is then I get some options. So I can make it a color if it's empty, if it contains a certain word, or if it starts with or ends with a certain word or letter, or if it's exactly something. So if you're using words in your Google form, you can conditional format that too. Same thing with dates. But then again, I like to go to the greater than or equal to, greater than for numerical values. So we do greater than or equal to, and let's say 80. And then I just hit done. And then you can see all my scores that are above 80 are green. I can do the same thing. If I want to do another one for below, I still have to select the data, add another rule, and now I'm going to go to is less than or equal to, let's say, 60. And I need a color, so red, bad, right? So now you can see your data like that. So conditional formatting at least allows you to quickly identify your extremes. You can do a gradient, but most of the time you just want to know what's above this, what's below that to quickly identify. The nice thing is conditional formatting, you can actually pre-conditional format those cells. So if you're copying and pasting data in again and again, they'll automatically change the colors based on whatever data goes in that. So if I copy and paste numbers into those cells, after I set the conditional formatting, they'll apply that to the new data. So conditional formatting, nice little thing to do some visual stuff. Pretty basic. Any questions about that one? Play with it, find the colors that work. Sort and filter are two equations that we can easily use. So now we're going to go to equations. There's stuff we can apply to that, and now we're going to actually do an equation. So I actually have a sort tab here. And if you go to the tabs down here, you see I did one already for sort. And I just copied it and did a screenshot of the help box that shows up when you start typing in any equation. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go back to, let's say, my main data. And I'm just going to, I want to pull in all this information, but I want to sort it. So maybe I want the highest score at the top or the lowest score at the bottom. So if I go back to that sort tab, I'm going to move down a little bit. And see, I already kind of added in the headings. So the student name, first name, last name, combined name, score 1. We're going to change that. So let's just pull this in. We're going to go quiz score 1. And I'm going to sort this. All right. You might have to change that. I'm going to sort that row, that whole data set, based on one column. So I'm going to go and see, I want to sort so that the highest score for quiz 1 is at the top. And what I'm going to do is go back to this cell, so I'm on a different tab. I'm going to hit equal, and I'll zoom in for you. Make sure to do that. So you do equal and sort. Then you do parentheses, and now this is this help. If you don't see this help, a lot of you may see like that. Click the question mark. Use the help. It helps a lot. That's why it's called the help. So now we want to select the range. That's the data we're pulling from. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to go back to my main data, and now I'm going to highlight the data I want to sort. So here's a little thing. Sometimes that help box stays there when you go to a new tab, and I want to get that row 2, and I'll just start row 3 and select it there. So I'm going to click and hold down, and then highlight the data I want. So it's going to pull in everything I am highlighting. So that's why I had to click in the upper left, hold down, and then select all that data. I'm going to let go. And like I said, I couldn't select an A2, so I'm just going to fix it now. So I can always go back and fix this equation. So I just went back as A3 because I had that box stuck there. Happens all the time, so I select A2. Then you're going to hit comma. Sort column is going to be by which column is this sorting. So I want to sort by quiz 1, but I started in A, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's going to sort by the 5th column. I could sort this alphabetically by first name, that would be column 2. If I was sorting alphabetically by the last name, that would be column 3. I can sort by grade, that would be column 4. But I want to sort by the quiz, so that's column 5 in this case. Ascending, descending. So now you do true or false. So true, and you see it even gives me the help right here. True is ascending, false is descending. So I like to have the high score at the top, so now I'm going to write the word false. I could sort by multiple criteria. But for right now, I'm just going to sort by the score. So close it up. Hopefully your equation looks something, a little too close, like that. Alright, I'm going to hit enter. And automatically brought me back to the table. And now you can see that all my scores, move this out of the way, they're sorted by that. Kind of a fun thing then, if I want to go back here, I can quickly change that false to a true and flip it around. So I'll give you a really fun advanced tool is to actually make that true or false, or I can make that true or false based on another cell. So I can have a cell that I just pull and make it true or false by drop down. I can also do that with a column number. So there's kind of some advanced tools with this. Instead of changing the equation, you can just make drop downs to make it easy for somebody. Especially if you're working with people who don't know how to use spreadsheets, making drop downs in your equations based off of what that drop down says, that works really well. And that's more advanced stuff I can show if you need more help with that later. So sort, pretty simple, right?
and then just highlighting it and using your sort.
So like up here. So yeah, you can sort by going up here. Right. First off,
You have to highlight the whole data you want to use.
yeah, so if I want to sort this row here, I could actually go and I have sort sheet, right? Now, one thing that I did before I set up this data is actually froze that top row. So you kind of see that there's a little gray bar there, and that will freeze it. So if I do any sorting that way, it won't sort like the header. I don't want the header to be sorted with the data. So normally it's up here, and you just grab your cursor until you get the little hand, grab it, pull it down to what row you want to freeze. Now the reason why I like the sort equation is because I typically never use the sort equation by itself. Almost always using the sort equation with some other equation.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yep. But you have to know how the sort equation works before you do it. So oftentimes I'm sorting and filtering, or I'm doing a VLOOKUP and sort, or a query function and sort at the same time. Like I almost never use the sort equation by itself. Or if I don't want to mess with my raw data, because like the Google Form stuff, all your form data goes into one tab. I almost always create a new tab and I play with everything over there. Because don't mess with your raw Google Form data. That's the safest thing, because it messes things up. So you always create a new tab. This makes it a lot easier to do that. So filter, same kind of thing. Let's say I have a ton of data and I only want to filter out so I'm only seeing some things. So I'm going to go back to this. I'm going to take that first header again. I'm going to just copy it here. Apparently it's orange for some reason. And now I'm going to filter out that raw data. Let's say I only want to look at my seniors. So I'm going to do the same kind of thing here. I'm going to just click where I want it to go, equals filter. Get my bracket, my help sheet comes up. Awesome. And it says range again. So go back to my main data, click and hold down, highlight the data I want to filter. And now here's kind of a fun thing. Let's say I want to filter all this data. I can. It's going to filter based on one column in that data set. And again, because that box was in my way, I just do that. Comma. Now here's my condition. So this one's a little bit different. I'm not telling you what column to sort by, just with a number. What I have to do instead is I'm going to go and say, all right, I want it where any of these is equal to 12. That's the only rows of data I want. So I have to click and drag that data. And here's a very important thing. This goes from A2 to H21. This goes from D2 to D21. This would not work. They have to have the same number of rows. What I typically do is I get rid of the number after the second one. So this will go all the way to the bottom. So I don't have to know how many rows there are. It'll always start at H2. And why don't I just leave it as H? Because it's going to bring in that first row. I don't want that first row. I want the first row of data, which is row 2. So if you can leave this as H21, that works. But if you also just want to get rid of it so you don't have to worry about how many rows is that? Because here I have 20 rows of data, but I pull data like the grades of every student per semester at our school. That's 1,400 kids times 6 courses, and I want to filter out based on one thing. I don't know how many rows that is, so I just delete the end. That makes it easier. All right, now I'm not done yet because you see there's the equation. So I want it where it's equal to 12. Now here's the thing. If it's a number, you can just write it like a number. If it's a word, you have to put it in quotes because it's looking for exactly that word. So that's kind of the difference between a numerical and a word. So like I could have said like, I want everything that said, let's say instead of a number, I wrote the word senior. I could do it that way, but I had to put quotation marks around it. But if I'm just doing a number, I can leave it as a number. And that's it. Close up your equation. Hopefully you get something that looks like this. So again, the range of data I'm filtering based on what condition? Where this column is equal to 12. If I hit enter, now you're seeing only the data for those seniors. And again, this is really useful if you're dealing with a lot of data. Let's say you only want to see those who have that teacher. or those who got a score greater than 5. Score greater than whatever. This would be an easy way to do that. So a filter equation works really well. Now, I could go back, and I actually could use a sort equation on top of a filter equation. So whereas the sort equation was sort, range, and then the column I'm sorting, and true or false, I could actually go here, and typically I put this whole thing into brackets, right? And then I'll say sort. And now, let's see, here we go, I can comma, column 5, false, boom. And what it did is that range, I just replaced the range with another equation. So it's going to sort whatever that filter equation kicks out. This one I may not be able to go slow enough to go on this, but again, I have a video showing this. I kind of just want to show you the concept of this. This is where you can start to have fun. But it does get more complex once you start layering equation on top of equation. If you're just getting started, just do a new tab and do your sort equation on that tab. But you can always go these on top of each other. By an enter, and there you go. It's sorted based on column 5. So those equations can work really nice together. Again, those are, each of these equations, wrong slides. Session tomorrow talks about fishing. It's a good analogy, but you know, that's kind of like a teaser for it. Sort and filter are honestly 2 of the top 4 equations I use. I mean, they are the ones that you're going to use a whole lot. Oh wait, get rid of you. And you. Forgot to get rid of some stuff, sorry. Alright. Last time I did this, I tried putting challenges in there. And we only got through like 4 equations, so that didn't really help the people. So we'll go through a little bit more equations this time. So VLOOKUP is vertical lookup. This is a great way to make 2 different data sets talk. So let's say I have a data set for students quiz 1, a second tab of quiz 2. So I have 2 different sheets that I want to make talk. As long as they have a common, unique identifier. So in a lot of cases, you're talking about student ID numbers. Something along those lines. You can make those 2 columns kind of come together, those 2 sheets. So this is honestly number 1 equation I use on anything I'm doing. Because typically, it's not one data set I'm dealing with. I have multiple data sets, but I need to look at them all together. So here's my VLOOKUP. Actually, I'm going to jump ahead. We'll do it. So we go back to my main data set. You see, I started with student ID because most of the time, if you can, pull out a student ID number, because that's your unique identifier. It's going to make it much easier to make things talk. If not, you can create a unique identifier, and I can show you that in a little bit. So I'm going to copy all these student IDs. Oops. Copy. Then we go to my VLOOKUP tab, and I'm just going to paste those. So let's say I have the score number 1. Let's say that's on this tab, the main data tab. I want to bring it into this sheet here. So I'm just going to look for the row that has this value in it and tell it what value to pull out. That's what VLOOKUP does. So again, equal VLOOKUP. You'll get your handy dandy cheat sheet. Now the first thing here is search key. So that's what it's looking for. So I want to look for this value right here, comma. Now range is where it's going to look through, but here's the thing. That unique value has to be in that first column. So if I go back to this main data sheet here, wherever that first column is, that student ID column for this, I have to start there. So I'm going to pull in that quiz number 1 score. Well, that didn't work. Yeah, you like doing that problem. There we go. Sorry, sometimes when I click, you notice how I put it in the wrong place, so I just had to delete the stuff and redo it. So now I'm going to click A2, and let's just get to quiz 1, I'm just going to delete it. I don't need to scroll all the way down, because I know I'm just going to make it go all the way to the bottom. So it's going to look at A2 to E, comma. Index is the column to look for. So again, I want the quiz 1 score, that's in the 5th column from where I started, so 5, and false. You're always going to put false. I have never seen a situation to put true. If you put true, what it's going to do is if it can't find your number, it's going to look for the next row after it. Like if you had it sorted. Like it can't find 21, so it's going to look for 22. Which is never had a situation where I've used true. Now what this is doing, and I hit enter, is it's just bringing in the score for that student. I can double check that. So 4912, score was 26. Matches up. Now I want to do that for the rest of these students, right? Because it only did it for the first student because it's only looking A2 to here. The sort and filter was looking over a range. This was just looking for one cell. So to do all those others, I got copied on the equation. But here's the thing. Look very carefully at my numbers right now. A2, A2 to E. I'm going to copy down this equation. You can do that by taking your cursor, putting the bottom right of the cell, clicking and dragging down. And you see it move the equation down, right? But did you see what I did wrong? It's looking at A3, that's where I want it to look, right? But it's also now starting in A3 on the other tab, which means that my equation is skipping that first row, which would be a problem if my data was in the first row. See, when you do a copy down equation like that, what it's going to do, try to get back to the best show here. So again, I'll show you here. I pull it down a row, and it moves every row down one. Which is good when I'm trying to find the identifier. But right now, if I pull it down again, it's skipping 2 rows. Easiest way to fix this, first off, delete the bad cells, because those are bad, is either get rid of the 2, and now it'll always look from A to E. It'll always look for that full range. I don't care if it looks at the header, because my number's not going to be in the header now. Or, another way to lock it if you copy down, is to put $ signs in front of the letters. So let's say I want to look from A2 downward. Now I hit enter. If I copy this down, it stayed A2.
You put $sign in front of both.
You really don't need an E. But you do for this, so I can't just do this and have it work. At least it shouldn't. Hey, look, it did work. I always put the $ sign though, I guess that's more, I always overdo it. Yeah, because if you move it over then it would change the column.
Then it would change.
So,
Yep, you're right.
we'll go back to this one more time. All right, so this is good to copy down. Here's the fun thing. I don't like clicking and dragging. So if you double click this, it'll copy down for every row you have data in. That was fun, wasn't it? That is, I swear, every time we do the session, somebody walks away, that's the only thing they take away from us. The double click. Like that is a simple thing. But okay, I guess. All right, so I pulled in all that data. Now I need to pull in the other score from another sheet, right? Otherwise, why was I doing this? I already had the data on the spreadsheet, right? So same thing here. Equals, filter. Lookup. Again, looking for this unique student ID, comma. What range am I going through? Well, score number 2 is on a totally different tab here, so test 2 scores. And again, student ID, sometimes it will misclick, which is all right. So go back there, highlight your data, and again, what column are you pulling? 5th column in this case, and false, always false. So it pulled in the score for that student on the other spreadsheet. I'm going to get rid of the 2, and then I'm going to copy it. And so now I was able to bring those scores. Now I can keep doing this how many times I want. Now, what will happen sometimes is, let me go back to test 2 scores. Let me get rid of this kid's score. And you can see it didn't bring it in. It brought in the blank. If it doesn't find that student ID in that list, you'll see the not applicable error show up. So I can tell you sometimes you're missing scores for some people, just like it didn't get that data. So if you do see an NA, that means it couldn't find the unique identifier, in this case, student ID in the list. So, VLOOKUP is highly useful. The easiest way you're going to screw it up is forget that the unique identifier has to be in that first column of your range. And I say this because that's literally somebody I helped last week. They are like, oh, we're stuck. We work on this for half an hour, can't figure out how it works. I'm like, oh, you didn't put the right column. They didn't like me after that point because I fixed their problem in a second. So VLOOKUP, very simple once you use it. All right. Questions about that yet? Sort, filter, VLOOKUP, through your top equations you can use often when you're working with data sets. Let's say you want to create a unique username out of first and last names. This is actually not something you probably have to do a lot, but it allows us to use an equation called concatenate. Concatenate is a fun equation. It's how every time I need to get a spreadsheet of, let's say, let me go over here real quick. Let's say I'm going to add the first and last name to somebody. So I'm going to add right-click a column, and I can insert a column. We're going to call this full name. And what I'm going to do is use the equation concatenate to combine these two. So I'm going to do equals concat, and you'll see concatenate. You want to use concatenate, and then you just tell what you want. So I want last name, then you have to put the comma, and then if I do first name, you'll get this. Well, let's say I actually want a comma between last name and first name, right? What you do, so between the two you put in quotation marks, a comma, and then another comma. So if you ever want to put text in here, you have to put in quotation marks, and it'll keep adding. So now if I go enter, I have a last name, comma, first name. If I want to put a space, quotation mark, space, quotation mark. So concatenate allows you to combine different values into that, so different words. If you want to add numbers, you use sum. If you wanted to do it like this, because every time I get a spreadsheet and I have to figure out the student's email address, I concatenate their student ID and the first three letters of the last name, and it kicks out every time because that's how we come up with their email address. So concatenate is useful if you need to make new names, or you need to combine phrases, stuff like that. It is a simple one. The opposite of concatenate is split. Split will separate something based on, like, every time there's a comma, put it into a different cell. So I can have like a big laundry list of words in a cell, all separated by a comma. The split function will split them out into a row, each word in its own cell. So that's useful. So that's kind of the opposite of concatenate. Concatenate may not be one you use a lot, but it is one I found to be very, very useful.
Can you like truncate things when you're concatenating, or is it just you have to bring all the values there?
Yep. So let's simplify this a little bit again. Go to B2. All right, so we go back to that one. Let's say I only want the first three letters of that last name, right?
Yeah.
So instead of C2, I'm actually going to use an equation called left. What it's going to do is pull how many values from the left that I want of that cell.
Sweet.
So I'm going to tell it to look, okay, can't see it. So what do I say, last name, left, and let's go with 2. So first two letters from the left. You can also do right, which does the same thing from the right. So left and right are fun equations, which that's how I get the first three letters of the last name. I do a left, the name, and 3. So left, again, is a separate equation, and right. That's apparently I'm fishing on the mind. I keep on the fishing slide. Sum, you can use a sum equation for numbers. Let's do that real quick. Sum. Pretty self-explanatory. I want to sum all their scores. Boom. I'm just too lazy to do math really quick. I mean, sum is kind of the same thing, like average and mode. It's just one of the simple statistical values. You can technically do the same thing, like saying A1 plus B1. You don't even need the sum sometimes.
And you have these available, these little.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. That's.
I mean, like, yeah, because like my brain isn't quite
What
ready.
do you mean, after a fun full day of learning at iTech?
Like I
Spreadsheet
want it, but I just can't do it right now.
So, this is what I will send you to on my website. Is I have a whole blog post with a YouTube video for each of these things, where I go through these. So, yeah, I mean, I have a few videos here for you. So, this one I worked with my game better making my videos. So, but nice thing about these, if you do run into, and I'll tell you this, Twitter handle's up there for a reason. You run into an issue, tweet at me. You need to email me. My Twitter handle is Donovan Science. My Gmail is Donovan Science. My website's Donovan Science. See, I got it all. I got brands. See, smart to get that figured out. But, and I say that because I work with a lot of people that get stuck on these. If you don't practice with it, you're going to forget it right away. Like, there are times I've had to go back and go, wait, how did I do that? All right. Let's go to import. We're going to jump ahead a little bit because I want to get through a couple of these I like. Unique is actually a very useful one because it pulls out unique values out of the data set. So every semester I would pull out all the student grades for that semester. That means that each student was showing up, what, 6, 7, 8 times? And I just want to know how many unique students were in there. Well, I can use a value called unique to pull out only unique values. So like with these student IDs, let's say, where's my unique? Here we go. Student ID. All right. I'm going to pull out all the unique student IDs out of this. And the way I do that is very simple. Equal unique. And this I was told by one of my former assistant principals. Every time he would do stuff in Spreadsheet and I'd be faster than him, I'm like, because he was doing Excel and I had Google. And Google's more powerful in this case. So pretty much you're just going to say, where is your range? So bring me all the unique values out of this. So again, just selecting a range. So I'm just going to do A to A, so it goes all the way down. And boom. Now, it wasn't very impressive when there was a small list of data. If you had like the kids showing up 20 times, you'd be able to pull that out. Or if you're doing like polling data, you want to know how many unique answers were there. So that's a useful one because now I can do a count if. So I can count how many times those unique values showed up in that. So, count it. So equals count if. Now count will count the number of numeric values in a set. Count if is really, I want to know how many times that unique value set shows up. So if I go back to my student ID, and I go through this whole range, now you can see it went wonky again. So, all right. So I'm going to select the range I'm looking through. All right. I'll do it that way. And I want to know how many times. So what this equation is doing, it's looking through this range and telling me how many times that showed up. So I can see how many times the number 20 was selected. I can know how many times somebody selected that person for homecoming voting. But yes, this is the reason I use this equation. I want to know how many times that person actually got selected in homecoming voting. I had to do that because I got sick and tired of the people using paper ballots. And it can show up there. And the nice thing is, well, this was kind of an easy one, but oops, yeah, I overwrote the data. That doesn't work. So you'll count it how many times it shows up. So a count if equation is useful if you want to know how many times that value was selected or shows up in a data set. I've used this before to figure out how many F's were in this course. And like I said, using VLOOKUP, sort, filter, unique, and count it, those 5 equations, I can produce a spreadsheet such as the one I did where I looked at what was our grade distribution in all courses for our building, by teacher, by department, by racial identifier, by gender. I was able to use those equations to get that information really quickly, and when you're talking about 1,400 kids, 6 to 8 data sets, and I want to pull that out based on some unique value, that could take you a long time to do it by hand. Type in the equation and get it right away. So again, those equations are going to give you most of what you need. So unique and count if. Import range is similar to query. Query is a function that there's a lot you can do with the query function. I use query in a simple way because I really like sort and filter, I like those equations. But query could pretty much give you the same functionality as it'll let you pull in data from another tab and only the data that meets these criteria. And you can do a lot of that. I like sort and filter a little bit more, it's more just my preference. Import range allows you to bring in information from a whole different spreadsheet. So we have our special ed teachers are recording behavior data about their students. We need to share that data with somebody else, but without letting them affect the original data. Or maybe seeing more stuff than we want. So what we do is we leave all the data in one separate spreadsheet. They use import range to pull in the areas I want to a totally different sheet. That person only sees what I tell them they get to see. They never get to see the whole original spreadsheet. In import range, again, if you want to do anything, equals import range, bracket, and it'll tell you what to do. You just need the link in quotes to that spreadsheet, and then the range. So this is the tab name, and then the range you're pulling in. And you have to have access to that. But this has allowed us to do a lot of ways of sharing information without sharing too much information. And I don't like giving people access to my original spreadsheets. I don't trust them. I don't trust administrators, I don't trust teachers, I don't trust anyone. That's nothing on them, it's because I have trust issues. No, it's because people easily can screw up an equation and then it takes a long time to fix it. So if you don't trust the people to mess with your data, pull it to another spreadsheet, because this allows me to actually keep messing with my data. It'll constantly show up updated in the other spreadsheet. So yeah, you say, well, why can't I just copy and paste? Because copy and paste is a one-time thing. Import range is consistently working. So they get to see the data set as it changes, but without affecting the data set. Does that make sense? It's useful. I really like import range. Every time you do it, every time you connect two spreadsheets like that, you're getting a little box that says, do you allow access to this? And you have to click allow, and then it'll kick out the data. It's just a stickler. Because I've imported range like 6 spreadsheets at once into one sheet. And I had to click that box 6 times. Because it'll give you permission each time. So import range is a very useful one on that one. So you did this one? Yeah. All right. How many people like if-then statements? Yeah, if-then. This is where you can fall down a rabbit hole very quickly. Iowa assessment data in the past, we wanted to sort students. Oh, this is the problem somebody came to me once. We want to sort our students based on their Iowa assessment's reading score and their FAST score. So I'm looking at 2 different data sets, and I need to sort them to different groups based on those data sets. But here's the problem. In the Iowa assessment, we had like 4 groups they could sort out of. In FAST, I had 3 groups. So if they're in this group in Iowa assessment, and this group in FAST, I want them to go here. So if they scored high here and high here, I want them to go here. If they scored low here and high here, I want them to go here. So pretty much I had like 6 or 7 different groups I'm kicking out to, and that was an if-then statement. So this is where you can have a lot of fun, and I'll just throw it right here. So if I go equals and if, and again, click the thing. So let's say if that is greater than 5, then write the word awesome. You know, that's an if-then statement. If it's this, then do that. But I'm not done. So it's if this, what do you do? If it's not, what do you do? There we go. That seems fun, right? Whoops. Let's make it 5. Whoops, still whoops. And then 6, yay, awesome. So this is where, okay, that seems like a very silly thing, but sometimes you want to do it, like what group you want to put in, or what word do I want to use for that. The thing is, this is why I say you can fall down a rabbit hole. This is what happens if that first criteria is not met. Because I can now replace that with another if-then statement. So if it was greater than 5, what should it do? So if not, let's say if it's greater than, let's go B2, it's greater than 3. almost, whoops. I don't like typing in front of people. Almost there, or I'll do whoops. Here's the nice thing about Google Sheets. You notice every time I have to put a closed bracket, and if I click my cursor after the bracket, it tells me which one it lines up with, so you know if you have enough. Because if you, again, I call it falling down the rabbit hole, you have lots of equations all together, you're going to forget how many brackets you had. So, let's make this 4. Let's make that 2. So the if-then statements, I don't have as many uses for those, but they can be very powerful because of the fact, if it's this, then do that. If not, you can put a whole other if-then statement. I had 12 or 13 nested if-then statements in this. I had to go on the whiteboard and write it out because I couldn't keep it straight in my head. So that's where, like I said, may fall down a rabbit hole, but that's, you can keep doing that.
You have a CS degree?
What?
You have a CS degree?
No.
No.
I have a degree in physics, but that's about it. So I just love spreadsheets. Yeah, I mean, really. Here's the thing. I love Google and the fact that YouTube has lots of videos out there for this stuff, and if not, I make them. And there's like some really good help sites out there because I will find myself, someone asks me, can we do this? I'm like, I don't know. Oh yeah, we can. You know, it's kind of like that a lot. Because I like to see if we can do this. I do not, there's like, you can do scripting with this. That's a whole other advanced thing. I do most of my stuff just with basic equations. I just tend to complicate things by pounding them on top of each other. The other thing is, so I'm not going to go through it now because it's kind of a longer process. There's also one called if error. So like I told you, sometimes the VLOOKUP, if it can't find a unique identifier, it'll give you the error message, not applicable. Well, you can actually cause it to do something else if it gets that by using something called if error. Pretty much you add it in front of any equation. So equal if error. And let's say I'm going to put the letter X. I'll zoom in, sorry. And then value of error. Also, you put your equation like say if.
So like instead of showing up NA, it's going to show up with whatever you tell it to.
Yep. So A2 is equal to 2. Then we'll put X. If not, now you kind of do this. They didn't like that. They didn't like that. I screwed up. I always use it from a VLOOKUP too. Okay. My scroll bar does not like this guy. VLOOKUp. I'm going to skip for now because I got a video about it. We have like 4 minutes left, and I got a feeling that that's not going to be done in time. So if error is useful, look at my video on it because I hate not applicable error messages. I really do. Because you're going to say if you don't have a score, you need something to stand out. So it's because you don't want it to count. Now, I will tell you this. Google is nice that they put in an explore button a long time ago. So whenever you're looking at a data set, let's go back to that main data here. Get rid of that. If you haven't ever seen this, explore. This will actually pre-create charts for you based on the data it finds in your spreadsheet. This is like spreadsheet charts for dummies. I don't know what to call it. But it will automatically do it. It does a pretty good job sometimes. Like here's the histogram of the grades. But I kind of like, I don't know, I'm a little bit more, I'll create my own charts. But do know the Explore tool's in there, which may be very useful if you have some people who are not very capable of spreadsheets. You want to look what data can I create quickly. Do that. There are add-ons, okay, what are formerly known as add-ons. They're still called add-ons. So spreadsheets have add-ons just like Google Docs. They now live in the G Suite Marketplace, which if you're a tech director or Google's admin, this causes new problems, which I haven't really spent the time to think about yet. But there's stuff in here like Whosa Charts, Doctopus, all sorts of stuff like that. Analytic tools, mail merge, AutoCraft, Formule. Those are great stuff to use in a spreadsheet to do some certain things, but those are also options. I'm going to give you, if you go to my website, oh, did I not do that? Oh, here we go. If you go to this link, Sheets Wizard. Again, I changed the name from Wizard to Master. I don't know why, but at least I knew I changed the title before the session started. This will take you to my website where I'll have those blog resources, all YouTube videos. So if you do need to go step by step. The thing I will tell you, practice, play with data. I mean, never mess with your raw data, go to a new tab, mess with everything over there. But do not worry if you can't remember how to do that equation, because if you don't use it often, you're not going to know how to do it. Even as many times I just sit there and play with data, because it's what I do when I get bored. It's a great hobby, you know, it's useful. You can find yourself doing a lot of things. There are some things out there, like I say, you do some searches, you can find great things. I had one of my favorite spreadsheets I ever made. It took all of our grade data for our students for a year, and I actually used some drop downs so I could go and break it down by department, by racial identifier. It would show me the distribution of A, B, C, D, F, and then I made a little graph in one cell to show me that. Because sometimes it's hard to see data, but if I have a little bar graph, that shows it right in the cell. I can't show you that because that would be showing you my student data.